Hello students, this video is designed to help with understanding equations with special solutions, like no solutions or infinitely many solutions. Many equations have only one solution, but there are special types of equations that have either no solution or infinitely many solutions, and I'm going to show you examples of all of them. Let's take a look at equations with one solution. This is the typical type of equation that you'll see. In this example, 3x plus 1 equals 10. The steps are subtract 1 from both sides, that's using additive inverse, 3x equals 9, and then we're going to divide both sides by 3, that's using the multiplicative inverse, and we get x equals 3. We can see that x equals 3 is the solution, and there's only one of them. Most equations are going to have one solution, which means that there's one value, in this case x equals 3, that makes the equation true. If you use any other value, it does not make the equation true. Let's take a look at this example. The equation 3x plus 1 is equal to 10 from the problem that we just did. If we take that x equals 3 and we substitute it in for x, we find out that the equation gives us a true value. If we take any other value of x, for example, x equals 5, if we substitute it into the equation for x, it turns out that there is not a correct statement here. This statement is false. So that means there is one solution to this equation, x equals 3. Any other value of x, if I substitute it in, it will not be true. Equations with no solution might look like this. If I start out with an equation that looks like this, first thing I'm going to do is use my distributive property to simplify the right-hand side. Then I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. That gives me two different values on both sides of the equal sign. So what we can do is, for the equal sign, instead of using equals, we can say is not equal to. We put the little slash through it. Equations with no solution feature an answer like this with two different numbers. Some equations have no solutions. That means there's no value of x that makes the equation true. There's never, ever, ever going to be a true result for this equation. Take a look at these two examples. I took x equals -4 and I substituted it into this equation. It turns out that it gives us a false answer. It gives us a false result. If I chose x equals 1 and substituted it into the equation, it also gives us a false result. So there's no value of x that we can substitute it in. Obviously, I didn't use every single value of x that exists. I didn't use all real numbers, but you can see that in these two examples, neither of these x values give us a correct or a true statement. The other type of special solutions equation is infinitely many solutions. You could also say equations with infinite solutions. That's also okay. Taking a look at this example, the first thing we're going to do is combine like terms on both sides. We combine x and -3x to -2x. And on the right-hand side, we combine -1 and +5. That gives us a +4. That's just combining like terms. Then we're going to add 2x on both sides to try to get all the x's on one side, but it turns out we get no variables, just numbers. 4 is equal to 4. Well, we know that 4 is equal to 4 is a true statement. 4 is 4. Some equations have infinite solutions. That's what happens when you have the two numbers that are equal to each other. That means that any value of x will make the equation true. I can use any number I want for x, and the equation will still give me a true result. Let's take a look at some examples. I picked two random numbers, x equals 7 and x equals -1, and when I substituted both of those values into the equation, I got both sides equal, which means the equation is true. Both sides equal, that means the equation is true. I obviously didn't exhaustively test this, but I'm telling you that whenever you solve an equation and you have two numbers on either side that are equivalent, that means it is a true, that means that there are infinitely many solutions. There are pretty easy ways to identify equations with special solutions. I know that if I solve an equation and it gives me two equal numbers at the end with no variables, it's going to be infinitely many solutions. Some examples are -8 equals -8, 9 equals 9, or 3/2 equals 3/2. Regardless of whether they're fractions or decimals or whatever, if they're the same exact value and there's no variables, that means it has infinitely many solutions. If the equation solution is two different numbers, like 0 equals 1, or 4 equals -4, or 1.5 is equal to 1, we say it's no solutions. We can cross off the equal sign, as you can see here, make it a non-equal sign, rather, and we can say that there are no solutions. Hopefully this helped with the skill of identifying the solutions for special equations, or equations with special solutions. Good luck studying.